Hi, good morning. My name is Scott Forcino. I'm an associate broker with eXp Realty out of New York City. I founded PlugIntro for real estate professionals to make more and better referral partners in their business. This morning, I have with me Bobby Bryant from Houston, Texas. He has the company DOSS. I'm really pleased we've got to Bobby on this interview and this opportunity to learn more about his business, his market, how he represents clients, and his forecast of the industry. So good morning, Bobby. Nice to meet you.
Good morning, Scott. How you doing, fella?
I'm excited to be here. And I know a little bit about DOSS from just looking at some of your social media posts. And I'm really looking forward to learning more about you and the company and what you see the forecast for all of us to be working in.
Yeah, DOSS has been an idea that's been incubated for quite some time. But I think it actually goes, way years back from what a lot of people have, seen. I've been in real estate for about 21 years. I actually entered the real estate industry on the mortgage side of the fence. Did extremely well. I had one of the fastest growing mortgage companies in the state of Texas, leading up to 2007 and 8, which we know what took place.
We do.
All at that time. What was interesting, I closed my mortgage company down. I mean, I had as many as 40 loan officers and growing. We were closing, a ton of loans per month. And then, like I said, things kind of halted. And what was interesting is I decided, to sell everything. I sold my house, I sold toys, sold everything, and decided to take a year, off and just study. I downsized everything about my life and wanted to really understand, okay, cool. This is happening. We don't know how long it's going to take place at that time, right? We didn't know that it was going to taper off in 2013. And when I was going through this process of going in my own laboratory, I'm a bit of a nerd with a personality. So I'm this guy who really likes to understand how things work, the why, how it's going to impact people, the economy. And I like reaching back and studying historical events. What did this do to people in the, when we had the recession in the 80s? What happened back, in the early, 1900s? Although technology and the internet wasn't there, but how did that shape people? Their expectations financially. And that kind of was the driving force. I was in search of the foundational, what I was going to build, whatever this company was going to become, what understanding and knowing my why. I'm a big Simon Sinek fan, and he makes a statement. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I am an avid believer of that quote. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I needed to understand what is going to be our why in our model, because it's easy to attempt to copy somebody's what, but if you don't understand their why, you're building on a broken foundation. You're a copycat. But with that being said, so fast speed forward, I came back with a brokerage initially called iBuy Realty. This is before the whole iBuyer stuff. This was in 2008, and it was the first stab at things, and I learned a lot. We learned a lot. I bought a real estate school, owned a title company, did all of that. I've touched every vertical within the real estate industry as an owner, not as a worker, but actually as an owner. Go ahead, Scott.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and so and I hadn't mentioned it yet, but my educational background is education. I acquired 2 master's degrees before I turned 30 years old, and I taught in the public school systems of both Alabama and Texas. So anyway, back to this, and kind of having that mentality of an educator, researcher, teacher, reader, speaker, writer. I've written for Forbes, and spoke on many stages. Was interviewed by Stefan Swanepoel's one of his 74, 75 who's who when it came to his danger report, which is a Bible. I think a lot of people need to go back in 2015 and pull out that danger report, and they will find that everything that Stefan and his team prophesized about the industry actually is happening. It literally is happening right now. And so taking that year off and just trying to understand, and then taking a dive at it with a company called iBuy Realty, and we had a go at it, made a lot of tweaks, a lot of adjustments, and fast speed forward, then all of a sudden 2011 happened. And then I saw IBM Watson on Jeopardy, because again, a bit of a nerd, so I watched Jeopardy. Alex, Trebek, and I'm watching this intelligent assistant. This is before Alexa. This is before a Google Assistant, before any of that. And I saw this intelligent assistant beat the two winningest players in Jeopardy history in grand fashion. And I was like, that's it. That's it. What if I can have an intelligent assistant in my mobile device that I can ask any question at any time? It answers my question. It has no desire to lie to me. It will give me accurate info easily when I want it, because that's kind of where we're at right now. Everybody wants what they want when they want it, right? I don't want to have to wait until my agent gets off work. They're working with another client. I feel like I'm the most important, right? But this assistant works on the agent's behalf and keeps them in the loop. So in other words, it's almost like having an assistant that's engaging the client for you, while you may or may not be doing other things. And then you're able to easily come back into the fold, into the conversation, and be able to pick up from there with the humanistic, side of things. That birthed the idea of DOSS. And so it was a bunch of chain of events. So we actually started just building the technology, and that's kind of how things happened. The brokerage component was not first. That came right in February of 2022. But we were, ever since 2016, 2017, building out the technology. We had a first mover's advantage. Again, this was before, think about it. Alexa is only 7 years old right now. Google Assistant is only 5. And IBM never created a hardware. They're a software company, right? And so we were working closely with IBM in the beginning. They kind of pivoted away. You don't see IBM Watson commercials anymore. And then next thing you know, we had an opportunity and met some people at Google, and they were excited. And hell, we were excited. You're talking about the most dominant search engine on the planet. And what are we building? An intuitive, more humanistic search engine that empowers a consumer not to check all the boxes and not have this little bland, vague, search criteria. Oh, square footage, lot size, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, and on a cul-de-sac, and it may have an in-ground pool, and that's it. It's way, way more data out there. And we wanted to draw all that data in that allowed somebody to be able to search and say something like, hey, DOSS, I want to look for a house in Manhattan, anywhere between 1.5 and $2 million. And, I want some natural light. I want 4 bedrooms, 3 baths on a quiet street with white kitchen cabinets and this, that, and the other. To be able to draw in other filters during my search that I want to know. And because, Scott, why are we doing that? Right now, look at this shortage of inventory. A buyer's biggest competitor is another buyer.
Sure.
And so we want to be able to help people deep dive into a search, get what they want. Don't have to go look through a million pictures and waste that time. I want to find my property. Here are my criteria, and give me criteria that's above and beyond the other companies, so I can find my house and get out there, because it's competitive right now. And I think it's going to stay competitive for a while. So in the words of one of our great real estate leaders, we were built for this time as well.
Yeah, I know who that leader is, and we are right. You say we're built for this. Sure. That was before COVID, and it was tragically interesting to look at, practitioners fooling around with the free software of Zoom and then getting knocked off. And then there was privacy breaches and, 40-minute drop-offs. And then I had a situation where my girls' school was dropping off at 40 minutes. And then they said, well, that's it. I said, no, it's not. There's a professional. They said it cost $15, 1.5. I said, can I pay so I could have some peace and they could stay in school for more than 40 minutes? So, I mean, that's a negligible cost was interrupting important activities. That's where we were 2 years plus ago.
Yep.
I hear you. Well, I'll be honest, I didn't know all of that regarding the intelligent assistant. I mean, so let me see if I got this part. Normally people would look if, you know, your cabinets are dark behind you and they say, I'm in Miami, I want light, you know, that kind of thing. Are the counters granite, even if they're granite and so on, and stainless, you still have to look. So now you're telling me those nuanced search, which naturally, intuitively, you think you have to learn. I got to see the place. Is it crummy landscaping? You know, some houses are really done up. My neighbors goes crazy. And I say, I mean, that's more appealing than you would have no way of knowing that with this, to see how they take care of it. Are they putting the mulch? Is much better curb appeal. You have to go to the place. And now, I mean, that's, I think that's really, really compelling, nuanced information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was the goal. Here's the issue. I wish we could say, and this is no knock on nothing, but I wish we could say that all realtors were created equal. Nobody is, right? No attorney. That doesn't happen with doctors, attorneys, or anybody, right? But here's what happens. Here's the flaw. Here's the kink in the chain is that when we take a listing and we're uploading that data, we're doing data entry pretty much, right? So we got pictures, we upload that, but how weak or strong are an agent's description of the property?
Different.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about an industry that really has a weak educational, entry, a barrier of entry. So, but we're going to probably have these same people writing descriptions on the largest asset most people buy and sell in their lives.
Sure.
So what we wanted to do at DOSS is say, you know what, let's eliminate the potential for human error. Image recognition. We want to use artificial intelligence in a way that none of our competitors are. And when I say competitors, I'm not talking about other brokerages. I'm talking about other search platforms. Right. So we want to be able to create, again, this experience. Right. And whether I could speak, I may be in a loud, train in New York, I could text it out. I could type it out. So it's not just a voice conversational artificial intelligence solution. I can speak, text, or type. It meets me where I'm at. I can even change it up. I can start off speaking and then go to typing and then come back to speaking. And so, but giving people a solution that feels like I'm talking to a person, even when it comes to mortgages. Hey, DOSS, what's an FHA loan? Like, what's that in comparison to a conventional or a VA? How much do I have to put down? What do I need to have ready when I talk to a loan officer? Hey, DOSS, can you just go ahead and put me in contact with the loan officer? And so we want to have this solution that is there and attentive. For example, our for sale signs, we have a patent pending on it. And we put a big QR code in the middle of it. It's shaped like a map pin. We've even protected the shape. Location, right? Map pin. So we didn't want a square, for sale sign. We wanted to be different. And so we put this big QR code, and it's not about the QR code. Anybody can do that. But what it is taking that QR code, infusing it with technology. And when somebody drives by and they see this beautiful sign and they scan this QR code, it geocodes their location and it knows that they're standing in front of a house for sale. And then it just begins to tell them about the property instantly.
Yeah, it's almost like a hologram in a way, right?
Well, yeah, it tells them instantly about the property. When a person is calling the number on a for sale sign, which, by the way, it's a horrible statistic of the agents who don't answer that phone call, even with 2 numbers on it. I got the agent's number, the broker's number, office, whatever. Nobody's answering that phone call. The statistics is horrendous. So we were like, how do we capture that? Our brand will lose money if I have to count on that, right? We'll lose revenue. Our agents are losing money. And so when you scan it, it says this house is $400,000. It's 4 bedroom, 3 baths. It's 2,500 square feet, and it sits on a 5,000 square foot lot. Do you want to see it? Oh, wow. You know what? Yes. Okay, great. What day and time? And it again, if we're going to have an assistant, and if we're going to turn around and make something next level, right? Then let's create that. Let's envision that. And so I don't think a lot of people really understand the power of what we're developing. But you know, because the ceiling has been this interesting Alexa experience that only plays Michael Jackson Thriller, turn off lights and set a 15-minute timer. And so that becomes the ceiling of their expectations when they hear about DOSS. And I'm like, no, DOSS does a lot more than that because we're domain specific. And then we could turn around and meet people and solve problems in a more meaningful way, which is exactly what we're doing in our objective. Yes.
So really, I'm hearing that DOSS is a research tool.
In search. So it's a do engine. It's a task engine. It's a search engine. You know, all for all things home, for all things real estate.
So really, it's a search engine just tied to a real estate company.
It really is. We wanted to create a platform that isn't, you know, codependent. I think the future of real estate. I think companies are going to have to figure out how to control eyeballs better from some of the big search platforms. So we wanted to start there. We really asked ourselves, how can we improve that experience? I don't care who the top dog is, but how can we improve that experience? How can we make that better? And then after we started developing that, to my earlier statement, February 2020, that's when we infused the brokerage. That's when we infused the brokerage side of it. And then we started building out that model of what do we believe agents need and want. But most importantly, Scott, this is also what we believe is that the industry has historically said we're agent centric. We serve the agent. The agent serves the consumer. But what we don't realize, that lies the problem. I can provide agents every tool, every training, everything they need. The breakdown is not between me and the agent. Breakdown is the agent mobilizing what the tools they have and the training to the consumer. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. Every industry have mastered serving two masters. The real estate industry says, you can't serve two masters. You can't serve, so we just agent centric. You can't serve two masters. Well, Uber did it. Now, last time I checked, they're pretty strong. Mm-hmm. Uber says we have to give the driver a phenomenal experience. We have to give the rider a great experience. And we have to bring them together. Airbnb did it. Last time I looked, they pretty healthy bottom line.
Well, any platform like eBay, that's a long one. Anything is bringing people together. It's an exchange. It's really an exchange. People.
So what has to happen, and what we got to understand is that the real estate industry has always been a marketplace. So if we have the notion that the realtor is the center of the universe, then the realtor is a marketplace. We're a marketplace. The mortgage company doesn't eat until I give them my buyer that needs to be pre-approved. I give the listing to to the title company, insurance, everything. If I'm the center of the universe, then guess what? I'm a marketplace. The industry, though, the perspective and mentality of how they view things, the agent is our client, and that's it. When I think that the companies of the future have to function a lot like Airbnb and Uber, you have to create these marketplaces. And what we have to do is we have to best serve the consumer and the agent. We need to be an agent and consumer centric model moving forward. That's what we created. And we bring these people in together. And when you have instances where the agent has their own database, then you best serve them in that regard. But we create a platform that actually generates leads and connects people. And we provide business to our agents. A lot of companies don't do that. Matter of fact, most traditionally haven't done that. So how do we go about do that? How do we go about creating multiple entry points? Again, we own a mortgage company. We partner nationwide with ADT and Vivint. We just rolled out our affiliate side. That way we could do a rev share with our agents, not based on commissions, not based on revenue or profit, but rev share because we all want to put our database in front of these service providers that want to be in front. We lower that customer acquisition cost, and what we end up doing is rev sharing that with everybody that's participating in it. And then you have franchises, and that gives also franchises a way to offset their cost and expense. So we looked at the entire spectrum, and we broke it down, and we just started solving problems. And that's the problem with the real estate. It tries to solve one problem in this whole journey. And it's like throwing a brand new alternator in an old motor, right? It's going to be in there working strong. And the rest of the old parts are like chugging along, and then other stuff starts breaking down. What we had to do is look at the entire journey, dissect it, break it down, look at the data, the statistics, the problems, and start solving those problems. The real estate industry has a very dynamic problem. And what does that mean? It's going to require a very dynamic solution.
Well, I like the point you made, distinguishing between real estate industry and the traditional platforms of eBay, of Airbnb, of Uber, right? And that when you said that, I formed this belief. Uber is one thing. eBay is one thing. It's a platform which brings buyers, sellers together. You need a bed, you need or you need a ride. That makes sense. The difference is so easy to see in real estate is you have the complete existence of independent contractors. So everyone is an island. There is no real estate. There is no Uber. There's not one thing where people meet. There's no watering hole where people meet. Every agent is the watering hole. And the fact is they're not necessarily facilitating the meeting. They are more so acting on behalf of one party. So really it's even this. So if here's NAR, there's a 1.5 million islands, then you take each island and it's cut in half where you have a buyer and seller island. So there's even, there's, yes, each of them are contractual counterparts, I like to say, but unfortunately there's even the possibility of litigation. So it doesn't take much to go from a contractual counterpart to become an adversary. So Uber never has adversaries, and these other platforms don't even allow for adversaries, but we have inherently an adversary. So you could never expect for a fusion of everyone's interests.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
And that's because there's agency, and that's because there's parties, and that's because we are fiduciaries. So I understand the point, and those facts I just mentioned are not going to change. However, each of the islands could be far more participatory and far more reconcilable, like you're discussing.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I look at the real estate industry and how it's been fundamentally designed. I really try to maintain an outside-in approach. I think it's difficult to solve a problem when you're in the nucleus of it, right? It's difficult to. It's the reason why. Yeah, right. It's the reason why you go to a counselor and you sit on the couch, right? It's just like, if you had the answer, you wouldn't be on the damn couch. But so I really try to maintain an outside-in approach, do a ton of surveying and research, and because we wanted to aggressively, again, since February 2000. 2 weeks later, COVID hit, and we were in for months, and so that was very interesting. But in order to aggressively tweak and build our model, because here's the other thing, Scott, we don't believe at DOSS in a one-size-fits-all. We don't believe, and that's for both sides. We created what we call a flex model at DOSS. That flex model exists for the consumer. That flex model also exists for our agents. And why? I'm a first-time home buyer. You are a seasoned buyer. You and your wife and kids, y'all been in 3 houses, right? And so you've been through the process before. Why would anybody treat you and I the same, right? And so the objective is to meet the consumer where they're at. Yeah, have you guys tried telling these millennials what to do?
They won't listen.
Right. And the oldest millennial is just over 40. The youngest millennial is 25. Now we got Gen Z that's 24. I bought my first house at 23. And these are the largest, most diverse, and watch this, educated generations in the history of mankind. These guys will fact check you sight unseen.
So when you're talking, they're not listening. I have nephews, and I said, listen, guys, good luck. They are not even ashamed to be checking what you're saying. And I said,
real time.
It can't happen. I started this in 97 when you were basically 10 years old. How do you think you're going to know all the examples we've lived through?
To that point, they don't care about your experience. They don't care about any of that. They will fact check you on the spot because they have all the data and information in their hands, right? And it's about them, but they care about the world. They care about things in a different way. They care about equality. See, the real estate industry, and watch this analogy, has an 8-track mentality in a Pandora world. You can't do that. Yes, the majority of realtors right now is actually down. The age is 52. When I first got in this business, the average realtor was almost 60.
It was, I've heard 57 a long time.
Yeah. And so it's 52 now. I'm believing that within the next 3 years, we're going to see a drop below 50 for the first time ever.
Oh, I think the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see 44 or 45.
So let's take that. If we know that, then us old heads in the industry, why aren't we, and I'm not talking about, you guys and DOSS, but if us old heads know that, that's been in this business for a while, why not disrupt ourselves so we can decide how we're going to survive, right? Why don't the industry disrupts itself? It won't do that. It just keeps chugging along, and it's just we're going to squeeze out every dime, every dollar. I believe the industry knows that it's in a very special place because these kids have changed other industries. These people, they view things different. They're smarter. That's why contracts change. Why? Because people exploit the contract, they get smarter, and they found a loophole. So next thing you know, you look up in the state of New York or Texas, it says, hey, we need to update this contract. Why do we update contracts? Because people were smart enough to figure out loopholes in it. We have to seal it up. We need to do the same thing with the real estate industry. How do you give these kids what they need and want in real estate? They are different. And I will tell you, they are about their money. They're about their money. And so they are as a consumer. Don't sell me. Don't tell me. Just give me the information. I'll look it up for myself. I'll read it myself. I'll fact check.
You're right.
Gen Xers and baby boomers, we just walked in and believed, okay, we believe you. We believe you. These kids don't believe nothing you have to say.
No, I mean, I want to touch on that point. That's a great thing where the younger people, they were in their teens during 08 and 09 or early getting out of college with basically no chance. So now they are really, they're far more sophisticated. And look at that example with the Robinhood and Game Boy. They disrupted that thing on a moment's notice. They changed the market. They basically took an entity out where imagine before you're trying to take out, AOL or Google or Amazon, it could never be done. So there are some companies that cannot be done, but anyone could do this. And you mentioned a great point, and this is where PlugIntro comes in universally. Trust is under attack. I love that you said this because I've been saying this and people have not been really vibing it. Where yes, we know every word of a contract and a mortgage doc, and even if they can find that, they can't synthesize that. So we have to really, at this point, as long as we can, and further this approach, have to strengthen. I mean, I can't believe you just hit on this point because if you see my other videos, because I say this, the trust is under attack because Zillow has been bringing human beings to agents 15, 16 years. Now you watch the Super Bowl, Rocket Mortgage, Quicken Loans, all of Wall Street, all of venture capital, all of technology like you have is bringing people directly to the provider. So that means, yes, they want that. But by the way, one thing I was thinking when you were saying that doesn't mean it'll work out for them. They're going to experience some loss because they are failing or refusing to accept insight from some grizzled old pro. So they are going to lose. Yes, they're going to take this approach, but when it takes the nuance, when it takes, like in the legal field, hey, I know that judge. That matters more than what the law is, right? Or this real estate agent, and Bobby's done 15 deals with this real estate agent. You can't Google that experience, So there is going to be pain, but there is going to be advancement. So really, you have to, through something like PlugIntro, equip the people you've worked with trust and gain them exposure. So cultivate reciprocity. You keep in mind, the kids, like you say, or even 40, they're interested in themselves. We all still are professionals and have to make a living. So these things have to close. And, if there's a basketball team and you're working with your title company and your lender and your home inspector, you've done deals for 16 years. some kid comes in with a Quicken loan with that everything has to be underwritten, it's going to be a hard sell to tell them, no, you got to use my buddy Johnny with this mortgage bank because he will make sure that it works for you. So we're heading with your technology and their technology a bit of a conflict. We have to really respect our colleagues.
We do, and that's where I just said you're right. We can't be in this industry with an 8-track mentality, a cassette tape mentality, and a Pandora, Spotify, world. We just can't. It's moving faster. It's more streamlined. It's more economical. It's more economical and efficient. All the old cliches we used to say in real estate, we need to stop it. We need to stop it. These kids are the most educated generation in the history of mankind, womankind, however we want to say that. And the reality of it is these dumb cliches that the industry use doesn't work on these kids. Matter of fact, when you say it, they're going to tweet you. I just talked to this dumb realtor, and do you know what they just said?
Sure.
They compared themselves to an attorney. The last time I checked, would you ask your attorney for that? The last time I checked, my attorney went to school for 8 years. And they know because they got 5 friends who went and got their real estate license and took 4, 5, 6 courses. We got to stop some of the things that we're saying and doing, and we're grabbing these old cliches that the generations before the baby boomers were saying, the baby boomers, and then my generation, Gen X, were saying, because these guys talk different. They're more articulate. And here's the thing. You talk about the Millionaire Next Door book. You can't look at these kids and tell who have money or not anymore.
Because
right?
They dress all the same and they don't care about cars.
All the same. They look like hippies. I love them because I'm a hippie myself. So I say that without any judgment, right? And right. So not often you're going to
think of this.
Go ahead.
Think of the fact that they're doing things differently. They're not having a joint savings account. They are not getting engaged. They don't say, I'm going to spend $20,000 for a ring. That's crazy.
Yep.
They're not having big weddings, except in the East Coast and in the West, in the normal part of America. They're not doing things that people did. They're waiting longer to have children. They're having fewer children. Right now in America, you realize it's like flatlining with births. Oh, yeah. Because people are living older and there are many fewer kids happening.
You said something.
Good.
I'm sorry. And you said something earlier, and you just reminded me of it because I wanted to bring the point up. You're right. Millennials. When the recession happened in 07, 08, they were teenagers. They were 13, 14 years old. Guys, they saw their mom and dads getting kicked out on the street. Housing, foreclosures were at a high. Right? Sure. And then now we have this generation. When we got towards the tail end of that, rates, they took rates down so they could sprung up the economy, right? Government started buying bonds so rates could be low. Next thing you know, these guys, before they even came out of high school, they were seeing 2% rates. They bought houses, 3.23, 2.3, 2.3, 2.3. Do you know for the first time in their lives they're seeing 5%? They're freaking out.
Oh, sure.
Right now, what rates are 5%, 6%? It's we got to look at the psychology. Real estate needs to pump its brakes. And what I had to go do was understand the psychological impact on people, not the monetarily. The psychological, collective psychological impact impacts the economy. If I believe something, if you get a body of people that believes a thing, that's going to cause an impact. And these millennials and Gen Z, guys, they are different. So we started building DOSS, not for baby boomers and Gen Xers in my generation. In 08, when I took that year off, I was building for them. I was studying them because they were the future. They're almost 70 million people. And the same thing with Gen Z, who's 24 and the youngest is 9 right now.
Wow.
And year over year, these two mega generations are pumping into real estate. Sure. And we're over here trying to say, you want to buy this 8-track? Right?
Well,
Hey, don't
I
look
want
at
to say,
Pandora.
two things. You may have heard the phrase, which is perfect for your position, that technology advances one death at a time. Scary, right? I have my folks, God bless, still alive, and they need my 11-year-olds. Hey, what's up with my phone? I lost all my apps. And we say, Dad, you could not have lost Safari because it's on the phone. I don't see them. They're gone. I lost all my
Right.
pictures. So there's that. And keep in mind that real estate has so much friction. Everything else, these kids, or not even these kids, it could be pushing 40, 45. Everything they do is on their phone or their computer. They want a car, it's Carvana. You want to, my daughter's like, can we order batteries on Amazon? I said, we can get batteries. We got to order, there's groceries, there's Grubhub. People are sitting home in the cities and getting McDonald's for double the price. It's the height of laziness. So now you get real estate, you get sold. In New York, I know that with this crazy housing market, people can actually sign a contract and give a check after they've gone through all of it and not get the house because lawyers handle it. They could send 4 contracts out. I'm not saying it's a nice approach, but it is if the seller wants. You could sign a contract to buy and not get a house. And that does not reconcile in any way with anything else they do. Hotels, trips, air, everything is on the phone except this.
Yeah, but that was done by design. So if you create it by design, then it really makes it hard to disrupt. That's the reason why so many people have pumped so many hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, and we've seen these startups fail, right? And it's not that they didn't have a great idea. The timing wasn't right. And so we have to, it's so many elements to it. When you really look at the great disruptors, look at Zoom. What catapulted Zoom? The pandemic. Look at their stock shot through the timing of that, right? We could even say the same thing about your brokerage, right? The timing of that. When we look at different ideas and things that are taking place, we really start talking about timing is bigger than the idea and how much money you have. Timing. That's the number one ingredient to change. And most people don't change unless it's at the hand of a catastrophe. And until that catastrophe happens, we're habitual creatures. As much as we don't like to believe it, you would never tell Apple where you live or where you work, but the minute you start your car, it'll tell you you'll be at home in 15 minutes. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're habitual. It knows you sat in a location for 6 hours plus, so it knows that must be home. And you never told it that, right?
Listen, I went to a family event recently, and I cannot believe that 2 or 3 of the people I met, Facebook said you may want to meet them. I still swear to you, don't know how that works. Maybe you do. I do not know. If I was saying hello to a family member, why? Can you give me a 1-minute answer?
Well, the thing is that there are technologies out there. This is that same question I can appreciate because it's the same for a lot of people in this echo chamber called real estate that'll say, yeah, I've been in this business for 20 years. Technology, you're always going to need people. It's never going to happen. Guys, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And the reality of it is I'm going to give an old cliche back since everybody loves cliches in this business. Just because you're not in the woods when a tree falls doesn't mean that it didn't make any noise. Sure. See, guys, a lot of times people operate so in their bubbles. And this is the reason why it's so important for diversity of ideas, diversity of people, diversity of thoughts, right? And get out here and go to conferences, go to seminars and trainings and meet people. But if I go and I stay in my bubbled world and I never rub elbows with technology people because technology doesn't understand real estate and real estate doesn't understand technology. And if I don't get out here and go and mesh and look and understand what's happening, then I'm in my bubbled world where everybody looks alike and thinks alike and talks alike. And we're like, yeah, don't change, keep it the same. Sure. And then one day something pops up and says, boom, Blockbuster, I'm Netflix. What are you going to do about that? And then that's a whole nother story.
About that,
but the
Well, I mean,
audacity
Bobby, to your
of our
point,
ignorance. Go ahead.
to our point, I attended various conferences, national association, bankers, industry, and I have a good friend over one night said, "Do you want to go out?" And I had the great fortune of meeting Ryan, and I thought he was a brilliant guy, a little bit younger. I'd love to hear his ideas. I've been following him on social media. Then he mentioned you, and I said, "Listen, I want to get more interested in what this real revolutionary system is." So you're so right. I mean, if you don't make the effort, if you don't come out of your home, if you're not exploring the digital world and seeing who might you be able to help, who might you be able to align yourself with, look at the benefit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
but Bobby, we're pretty much out of time. Let me just tell you something else. We started doing interviews in July 2021, close to a year. This was, and I've said this nowhere else, my favorite time spent. I learned so much, and I really do. I mean, I appreciate it. I learned, and my goal through PlugIntro is to get every regular old-fashioned agent a ton of exposure within their community, within their business, within the platform. However, in your case, I think your story really needs to be told. Let other agents know more about it, and it's compelling, and it's really opens eyes. And so what's the best way to get in touch with you? And keep in mind, we're doing this for a year. This is a year-long video interview. There's so much more to say. And we can equip your agents as well. What's the best way to get in touch with you, Bobby?
I have almost 11,000, followers on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a great place. Bobby Bryant, Twitter. And if somebody wants to email and have a conversation, I'll be open to it. That's Bobby, BOBBY at AskDOSS.com. That's AskDOSS.com.